Alien girl's heart stops when human says her real name. How did you know? The impact jolted Jax down to his fillings. His old freighter, the Junker's Hope, groaned its last protest before slamming into the obsidian landscape. Fire alarms screamed. The smell of ozone and melting circuitry choked the cockpit. Outside, through the cracked view screen, he saw jagged rock formations glowing faintly red in the perpetual twilight of this damned moon. Ringed by turbulent mineral clouds, orbiting some unseen furnace star. He'd taken a plasma hit to the port engine, courtesy of some mercs who didn't like him scavenging near their turf. Standard Tuesday. Except now he was a wreck, breathing recycled smoke, hurtling towards whatever hell this place was. He kicked the crumpled console. Piece of shit. Blood dripped from his forehead onto the power-down sequence panel. He thumbed it, plunging the immediate area into silence, broken only by his own ragged breaths and the hiss of escaping atmosphere. Get out! That was the priority. The air scrubber wasn't going to last forever. He wrestled with the jammed cockpit hatch. It shrieked, then tore open with a final burst of hydraulic fluid. Cool, thin air hit his face. It smelled like sulfur and something else. Toured, sharp, mineral, alive. He climbed out, ignoring the pain in his ribs. The ground was brittle, glass-like obsidian, crisscrossed with glowing fissures that pulsed with heat. Not cool. Less hot than the inside of the ship, maybe. He was in a crater, the Hope's carcass half buried behind him like a broken metal beetle. He scanned the horizon, a chaotic vista of spires, arches, and glowing rivers of what looked like molten rock. No signs of life, no cities, no outposts, just this. Then he heard it, a high-pitched, rhythmic hum, vibrating not just through the air, but through the ground beneath his boots. It grew louder, closer. He grabbed the dented plasma pistol from his hip holster. Out here, anything that made noise was probably hungry or hostile, or both. A figure emerged from behind a spire, tall, silhouetted against the faint red light. Not human, too angular. As it approached, details sharpened. Bone-like structures protruded from shoulders and forearms, catching the light. Skin the color of polished basalt with veins of glowing orange pulsing beneath the surface. Her head was held high, framed by hair like spun black glass. Her eyes, when they found him, were orbs of pure, molten gold. No pupils, just liquid light locking onto him. She stopped maybe 10 meters away. The humming intensified, resonating in his chest. It felt inquisitive. Then it shifted, becoming lower, a guttural vibration that prickled his skin. She spoke. Her voice wasn't just sound, it was a ripple of resonant energy that echoed the humming. It was deep, commanding, and utterly alien. The broken thing bleeds on my territory. She gestured with a hand that ended in long, sharp claws pointing at the blood on his forehead. It signals weakness, an intrusion. You will explain yourself, thing, or be absorbed by the cradle. Jax straightened, wincing. Bounty hunter code. Never show weakness. Even to something that looked like it sculpted itself from volcanic rock and nightmares. Name's Jax, lady, not thing. And the explanation is shit went sideways, ship died, here I am. Happy? He holstered the pistol slowly. Didn't look like she had obvious weapons, but those claws were plenty. And the way she moved. Liquid, powerful. He wasn't foolish enough to draw unless he had to. Her golden eyes narrowed. The humming dropped another octave, a low growl that vibrated in his teeth. Happiness is irrelevant. Territory is paramount. You violate. You bleed. You are prey. She took a step closer. The air around her felt warmer. Or, doubt, you are a gift. The resonance did not shatter you completely. Interesting. Her gaze raked over him, lingering on the places his cheap flight suit was torn, on the lines of his body beneath the battered synth leather. The way she looked wasn't just hostile, it was appraising. Hunger, yes, but not just for his flesh. Something else. He felt a jolt, a strange resonance back, deep inside his own chest, responding to her hum. Gift, huh? That usually comes with wrapping paper. You planning on tying a bow on me? He managed a weak grin. Her expression didn't change, but the humming shifted again, a quicker, sharper cadence. It sounded almost annoyed, or maybe intrigued. He couldn't tell. Alien expressions were a goddamn lottery. Your words are soft, formless. Your form is rigid. You make noise. You are a disruption. She took another step. He held his ground. Yeah, disruption's kinda my thing. Sorry your moon's quiet time got ruined. Apology is surrender, she stated, tilting her head slightly. The bone structures along her jaw seemed to tighten. Surrender is death, or claiming. You do not appear ready for either. Her gaze dropped again, sweeping down his body, then back up to his eyes. Your scent. Not your scent. It is not of this place. It is. Ondobur. Raw. Undeniable. It burns against the cradle hum. She was circling him slowly now. The humming followed her movement, like a predator's low growl. Intruder, bleeder, disruptor. Yet, resonance, answers. Resonance. Perhaps you are not merely prey. She stopped directly in front of him, much closer now. He could feel the heat radiating from her. Her golden eyes seemed to pulse. You will come with me. To the crucible, where your worth will be tested. If you fail, you are slog. If you prove worthy, you will be claimed. Do you understand, human? Her voice vibrated through him, a physical force. Jack swallowed. This was bad. Really, truly bad. His ship was slag. He was injured, and he'd just been propositioned by a giant rock woman who talked like a prophecy and smelled like a forge. Look, how about I just take my chances with the molten rock? Less paperwork. Refusal is failure, she stated flatly. Her hand, claws extended, reached out not to strike but to grasp his arm with surprising speed. Her grip was like stone, hot and unyielding. The humming intensified around them, a bubble of resonant energy. You bleed. You are weak. You are mine to test. She started pulling him, ignoring his wince of pain from his ribs. Resistance is unnecessary. Unnecessary. Come, the crucible awaits. He stumbled along beside her, his mind racing. Captive, bleeding, dragged towards something called a crucible by a woman made of lava and bone who talked about claiming just another Tuesday. The only upside was she hadn't just killed him. Yet, that usually meant they wanted something first, and whatever this claiming business was, he had a bad feeling about it. He tried to dig his heels in. Hey, slow down. And where the hell is this crucible? You got a map? A brochure? Her grip didn't lessen. The crucible is the heart of the crag. It is where the unworthy are smelted and the strong are forged. It is where I rule, she said it, matter-of-factly, like she was telling him where the nearest refueling station was. Rulership? Okay, getting complicated. He risked another glance at her. She wasn't wearing armor, not really. The bone structures seemed a part of her, like an exoskeleton. Her basalt skin rippled slightly with the heat emanating from her body. The glow beneath her skin pulsed in time with the humming. She was terrifyingly beautiful, in a stands in front of a volcano and looks at you kind of way. He felt that strange internal resonance again, a low thrum that mirrored hers, deeper this time. It wasn't just hearing the sound, it felt like his own body was picking up the frequency. What the hell was that? He'd never felt anything like it. Was it some kind of local atmospheric effect? Or was it her? Rule, huh? So you're what? The queen of this rock garden? He tried for casual sarcasm, but his voice was a little strained. His ribs ached, and the blood on his head was starting to dry and itch. She didn't answer, just kept pulling him forward towards the towering spires in the distance. The humming grew louder, seeming to attract more of those shifting mineral clouds that drifted across the sky. The ground felt hotter under his feet, the glowing fissures wider. He saw other shapes moving in the distance, vaguely humanoid but larger, slower. They had similar bone structures, less pronounced than hers, and their body glow was duller. Not everyone here was as vibrant. Ugalan, as his captor. Were they her subjects? Or were they the unworthy? All right, look, he tried again. I'm a wreck survivor. Standard galactic protocol says you offer aid, maybe a ride to the nearest civilized port, not drag me off to your lava gladiatorial arena. She stopped suddenly, turning her head to face him fully. Her golden eyes were intense, radiating heat he could feel on his skin. The humming stopped entirely, replaced by a low, resonant click from her throat. Protocol? Civilization? You speak of softness, of rules for the weak. Here, strength is the only law, claiming is the only protocol. You will prove your strength, human. To me, the way she said to me wasn't just possessive, it was absolute. Her grip tightened further, making him grit his teeth. "And if I don't? If I fail your little test? Then you become part of the cradle," she stated simply. "Your essence will be absorbed. Your form returned to the mineral dust from which this place is born." She didn't sound like she was making a threat. She sounded like she was stating a biological fact. Like photosynthesis, but with existential dread and molten rock. She started moving again, faster this time. He was forced into a shuffling run to keep up, wincing with every step. "Great, just great," he muttered under his breath. "Turns out I crash-landed on planet hot rock cultists." His mind raced, looking for angles, escape routes. She was strong, impossibly strong. And something about her humming, that resonance, it was messing with his head, making it hard to think clearly. He needed to break her grip, get some distance, find cover, maybe double back to the wreck and salvage something useful. But she anticipated his thought, her hold tightening just as he tensed to pull away. Her golden eyes flicked to his face, sharp, knowing. "Do not attempt foolishness, human. The cradle knows all movements on its surface. And I am the heart that beats within the cradle. Your thoughts are, Churithi-Pakt. Our thoughts are, loud. Chatty. To me. Telepathy? Or just that damned resonance thing?" His blood ran cold. This was way worse than he thought. Not just a dominant alien, but one who could maybe read his intentions before he acted. All right, keep your shirt on," he snapped, trying to mask his fear with bravado. "I'm coming. Just try not to melt me before we get there, okay? I'm more valuable in one piece. Probably." She made that low, resonant click again. It didn't sound like amusement. It sounded expectant. She led him through twisting rock formations, the path sometimes narrow passages between glowing walls, sometimes out onto wide, open plains of unstable obsidian. The air grew thicker, hotter. The humming was constant now, coming not just from her but from the very ground. The air, the towering rock spires that surrounded them. It was the moon itself singing, a deep, powerful bass note that vibrated in his bones. He saw more of the duller Ignis born, moving slowly, purposefully, often tending to the glowing fissures, directing the flow of molten rock. They paid him no mind, their golden eyes listless compared to hers. She ignored them too, striding through them like a storm front. She was clearly different. Higher status? More powerful? She'd said she ruled. The crag rose before them now, a mountain of fused mineral and bone-like structures, impossibly intricate, carved not by wind or water, but by heat and resonance. It pulsed with a deep red light from within. The air here shimmered. This was the crucible. They entered a wide archway, the rock humming louder, echoing her steps. The interior was vast, a cathedral of glowing rock and shadow. Pathways wound through the cavern, overlooking pits of flowing lava. More Ignisborn were here, but they were different too. Larger, armed with crude, heavy weapons made of fused mineral. They wore more pronounced bone armor. They stopped, their dull eyes fixing on him as he was dragged past. A few of them made low, resonant clicks in greeting or acknowledgement to Kaylin. She responded with a deeper, more complex hum, one that seemed to assert authority. She led him to a raised platform overlooking a large, circular arena carved into the rock. Below, the floor was a shimmering surface of solidified mineral, crisscrossed with lines of light. There were other figures on the platform, seated on thrones carved from the glowing rock. Older, Ignisborn, their bone structures ancient and massive, their body glow a faint, steady ember. Their golden eyes were fixed, unblinking, on Kaylin and her strange, soft captive. The humming emanating from them was different. Colder. Judgmental. Elders, she stated, not as an introduction but as a fact of the environment, like pointing out a stalactite. They watched the crucible. They witnessed the tests. She stopped at the edge of the platform, still gripping his arm. The elders' gazes were like physical weights pressing down on him. They didn't speak, but the cold hum they emitted was louder now, critical. He could almost feel their disapproval. "What tests?" Jax asked, his voice lower. "Am I fighting one of them? Because honestly, Lava Santa over there looks like he could melt me with a stare." Colin released his arm abruptly. He stumbled back a step, rubbing the ache in his ribs. She turned to face him, her golden eyes holding his. "The crucible is where worth is proven through conflict, through dominance. You are soft human, your strength is unknown. You will face a champion." Prove your form can withstand, that your will can bend the will of another. Prove. Chuve. You are fit to exist on this moon. She stepped away from him, moving closer to the edge of the platform. Below, a gate in the arena floor rumbled open. A figure emerged, larger than any of the Ignis-born he'd seen so far, encased in thick, fused armor, holding a weapon that crackled with stored heat. Its golden eyes were blank, focused only on the platform. A grunt, not a hum, came from its massive chest. That's the champion? Jax stared at the behemoth. He was injured, armed only with a pistol and a knife. This wasn't a fight, it was an execution. You're out of your goddamn mind. Kalen's low hum returned, layered with a new note he hadn't heard before: anticipation. Prove otherwise, human. The test is simple: survive, dominate, or become slog. The elder's humming intensified, a chorus of silent, critical energy. The champion started moving, its heavy steps echoing in the cavern. Jax felt a knot of pure adrenaline tighten in his gut. This was it. No way out. He drew his plasma pistol. It felt ridiculously small and weak against the backdrop of this place, against the sheer raw power radiating from Kalen and the Elder. He was going to die here, or maybe he could be the disruption she'd called him. Maybe a jaded bounty hunter had one last trick up his sleeve. He looked at Kalen, standing so poised and confident on the edge of the platform. Her basalt skin gleamed, her bone structures seemed to pulse with internal light. She was the embodiment of this brutal world. And she expected him to fail. Fine, let her expect. The champion lumbered towards the platform, its massive form blocking out the light from the gate. The humming in the air grew thick, heavy with anticipation. The elders watched, silent judges. Jax raised his pistol, heart pounding against his ribs. He had one shot, maybe two, before that thing closed the distance. He aimed for the head, hoping to scramble whatever passed for a brain in that rock-hard skull. Then Kalen spoke again, her voice ringing out, layered with that strange, resonant quality that vibrated deep within him. The champion of the crag does not fight intruders. It tests claimed. Your opponent, Taju? She gestured with a clawed hand, not towards the behemoth emerging from the arena gate, but back towards him. Tamwar, Dunwheel underground. Is me. Jax lowered his pistol slightly, his jaw dropping. You? Her golden eyes pulsed brighter. I am the empress of this crag. My claiming ritual is the most sacred, and it requires the testing of the intended. You will face my strength, human, and if you withstand, you will be forged. Mine. Her words hung in the air, heavy with implication. The elder's humming shifted, a note of approval, intrigue. This wasn't just survival anymore. This was something else entirely. Something tied to their bizarre culture, their rituals, and her status. A claiming ritual. With her, the concept was so alien, so unexpected, that for a moment Jax forgot he was about to fight a woman made of fire and rock. Wait, claiming ritual? What exactly does that entail? Because if it involves me getting stepped on by that giant rock monster. It involves proving dominance, Kalen interrupted, her voice dropping to a lower, more intimate hum that still carried across the arena. Involves the joining of resonance, the sharing of essence. It involves you demonstrating your worth to partner with the Empress. She tilted her head, studying him with those unsettlingly intense golden eyes. The elders require a display, a test of wills, of forms, a display mingling of strengths. Her gaze lingered on his body again, slower this time, more deliberate. The air around them felt charged not just with heat, but with a different kind of energy. Expectation. Hunger. Mingling of strengths, Jax repeated slowly, the words feeling strange on his tongue. He was beginning to understand. This wasn't just a fight. It was a prelude. A brutal, terrifying prelude to something else entirely. Right, so you want to wrestle for ritualistic dominance? On a platform overlooking a lava pit, a slow, resonant hum vibrated from Kalen's throat, deeper than before. Combat is the language of worth here, human. Physicality, the expression of dominance, our ritual, the ritual, jitting balsing dofom, of our right, night darting to, one is it dent cart, at our scott. It is a combat of forms, a test of endurance, of yielding. Her eyes held his, and he saw something there, something beyond the cold confidence, a flicker of intensity that felt strangely personal. You will attempt to subdue me. I will attempt to subdue you. The first to yield is claimed, and the claiming is absolute. Jack stared at her. This was completely insane. He was a jaded bounty hunter who specialized in getting out of trouble, not fighting empresses in weird rituals. But escape wasn't an option, and the way she looked at him, the way that hum resonated inside him, it was drawing him in, despite every instinct screaming to run. Okay, he said, slowly lowering his pistol again. Fighting that champion was death. Fighting her. Onto duck. Maybe there was a chance, a stupid, slim chance. All right, Empress. You want a dominance fight? You got it. But just so we're clear, I don't yield for anyone, and I don't get claimed. A predatory smile, utterly alien, and yet undeniably sexy, curved her lips. The bone structures along her jaw pulsed faintly. We shall see, human. We shall see. She moved towards him, liquid grace contradicting her rock-hard form. The elder's humming rose to a crescendo. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about something far more dangerous. She was on him in an instant, not a strike but a grapple. Her strength was immense, far beyond what her frame suggested. Her hands, like polished obsidian, locked onto his shoulders, fingers digging in with painful pressure. He gasped, the movement sending a fresh wave of agony through his cracked ribs. He tried to twist away, but she held him fast. Her golden eyes were inches from his, burning with intensity. The humming was a roar inside his skull now, resonating with that strange thrum in his own chest. It felt like their bodies, their very essences, were vibrating on the same frequency. Prove your form, human, she growled, the sound vibrating through his chest. Prove your will is not easily broken. He braced himself, trying to use his weight, his leverage, anything to dislodge her. He'd trained in hand-to-hand combat, faced things tougher than him, but nothing like this. Her skin was hot, her muscles like iron cables beneath the rock-hard surface. She started to push him back, slowly, inexorably, towards the edge of the platform. The lava pit below seemed to beckon. Yeah, well, maybe you should prove your form isn't just a bunch of hot rocks and bad manners. He snapped, putting every ounce of strength into resisting. His boots scraped against the obsidian floor. He could feel the heat from her body radiating into him, mingling with the heat of the arena. It was dizzying, disorienting. He needed to break this hold, create some space. He brought his knee up, aiming for her abdomen, hoping to surprise her. It landed with a solid thud, but it was like hitting granite. She didn't even flinch. Instead, her grip tightened, and she lifted him slightly, pressing him further back. He was losing ground fast. This wasn't working. He had to change tactics. He focused on her hands, trying to pry her fingers away. Her grip was too strong. He could feel the humming intensifying, flooding his senses. It felt like she was trying to overwhelm him with it, battering his mind with pure, resonant power. He gritted his teeth, fighting the disorienting effect. He wouldn't yield. Not to her, not to this damn moon, not to anyone. You fight like a cornered animal, she hissed, her voice a low hum that vibrated in his ear. Scrabbling, desperate. Where is the strength? The dominance? Strength isn't always about being bigger, Empress, he retorted, sweat stinging his eyes. Sometimes it's about being too damn stubborn to quit. He headbutted her. Not hard, he didn't want to concuss himself on her rocky head, but a sharp, jarring blow. She recoiled slightly, more in surprise than pain, her grip loosening for just a fraction of a second. That was all he needed. He twisted violently, pulling one arm free, then the other. He scrambled back, putting a few feet between them, breathing hard. His ribs screamed in protest. All right, he panted, wiping sweat from his brow. Round one to the stubborn human. Kaelin stared at him, her golden eyes wide. The humming around her fluctuated. He'd genuinely surprised her. The elders' humming from their thrones was louder, more agitated. You strike with your head? She said, her voice a mixture of confusion and something else. Curiosity? Disgust? Such a crude, unfocused application of force. Yet, it's effective. She flexed her fingers, studying him. Your form is unpredictable. It deviates from the expected. He managed a shaky grin. Keeps things interesting, right? Wouldn't want you to get bored. He circled away from the edge of the platform, trying to put distance between them, regain his balance. His pistol lay forgotten near where she'd released him. He couldn't use it now anyway. This was supposed to be a fight of forms, not ranged weaponry. He had to use his body, his wits. "You are amusing, human," she said, a low hum in her throat that was maybe possibly the alien equivalent of a chuckle. But amusement does not prove dominance. The test is not complete. She crouched slightly, a predator preparing to spring. The bone structures along her back seemed to expand. "Come, show me the true depth of your form, your will." He knew he couldn't win a straight-up fight. She was too strong, too resilient. He had to use his agility, his speed, keep her off balance. Look for a weakness. Was there a weakness in a being made of rock and lava? Maybe? Everything had a weak point. He just had to find hers before she turned him into a puddle. He feigned a lunge to her left, then shifted his weight, darting to her right. She was fast, reacting instantly, but his unexpected move put her slightly off balance. He didn't try to grapple again. Instead, he focused on evading, on wearing her down. He ducked under a sweeping arm, rolled past her grasp, kept moving. He could feel the heat rolling off her, the insistent hum trying to penetrate his concentration. "You evade," she hummed, sounding frustrated. "You dance. This is not dominance. It's surviving," he yelled back, dodging another grab. His ribs were on fire, his lungs burning. He had to end this, fast. He needed a distraction, something to break her focus. He glanced at the elders, still humming, watching. They were part of this ritual. Maybe they were the distraction. "Hey, lava santas," he yelled at the thrones. "Enjoying the show? Or are you just here for the free heat?" The elders' humming faltered. Their golden eyes, usually fixed on Kalen, flicked to him for a moment, clearly surprised by his direct address. It was a small break, but it was enough. Kalen's attention was momentarily diverted. Jax didn't hesitate. He lunged forward, not at her but towards her, past her. His target, the plasma pistol he'd dropped earlier. He scooped it up, scrambling back as she roared a resonant sound of pure fury and frustration. "You cheat!" she yelled, her voice a vibration that rattled the stones. "The test is of forms, not artifacts." "You never said," he yelled back, raising the pistol, aiming it not at her but at the glowing fissures in the platform near the elders. He fired a quick burst. The energy bolt struck the heated rock, causing a small, localized eruption of steam and glowing sparks. Nothing dangerous, but loud, jarring. The elders recoiled on their thrones, their ancient hum turning into a panicked, discordant jumble of sounds. Kalen froze, her attention snapping to the elders, then back to him, her golden eyes blazing. "You disrupt the sanctity of the cradle," she accused, her voice low and dangerous. "You disrespect the elders. They're disrespecting my continued existence." Jax shot back, keeping the pistol aimed casually. "Look, how about we call this a draw? I didn't yield. You didn't subdue me. We both still have our Kagral forms. Maybe we can just agree to disagree on the whole claiming thing, and I'll just take my broken ship and leave." Kalatka stood rigid, vibrating with suppressed power. The chaos he'd caused had shifted something. The elder's humming was still agitated. This wasn't how her rituals usually went. He'd broken the expected pattern. "A draw?" she echoed, the concept clearly alien to her. "In the crucible, there is only dominance. Or yielding." She took a step towards him, slow, deliberate. "You have shown unexpected resilience, human. An unpredictable will. But you have also shown disrespect for the ancient ways, for the cradle. This test must conclude. Now." She didn't lunge this time. She simply walked towards him, radiating heat, her golden eyes fixed on his. The humming intensified again, wrapping around him, probing, pushing. He felt that strange resonance inside him vibrating faster, harder, echoing her power. It wasn't just a sound anymore, it felt like a pull, a connection. He lowered the pistol slightly. He could shoot her, probably wouldn't kill her, maybe just stun her, but then what? He was trapped here, and something about her wasn't just hostile. There was that curiosity, that strange appraisal. And the humming, it wasn't just an attack. It felt inviting, like a frequency his own body wanted to match. He took a breath, ignored the pain in his ribs, ignored the screaming instinct that told him to blast her and run. He stood his ground. "All right, Empress," he said, his voice surprisingly steady. "No draw. No yielding, then what? She stopped just a foot away, her hand, claws retracted now, reaching out not to grab, but to touch his face. Her fingertips, surprisingly smooth despite the mineral nature of her skin, were warm against his cheek. The humming intensified, becoming a low, shared vibration between them. Her golden eyes searched his. Then, "We find the answer," she hummed, the sound deep, intimate, in the joining. She closed the final distance, pressing her body against his. The heat was incredible, overwhelming but not painful. It felt, got right, like two pieces clicking into place. Their bodies pressed together, his soft, relatively cool form against her hard, radiating warmth. He felt the resonance inside him leap, matching hers perfectly. Her hand slid from his cheek to the back of his neck, pulling him closer. Their mouths met. Not a human kiss. Her lips were firm, hot, tasting of ozone and minerals. It was less about softness, more about merging, a physical declaration. The humming became a single, unified note between them, vibrating through bone, through muscle, through skin. His arms went around her waist, pulling her tighter against him. He could feel the bone structures on her back against his hands. She wasn't just pressing against him, she was melting into him, and he into her on some fundamental resonant level. The world outside them faded. The elders humming, the glowing pits, the ruined ship. There was only the two of them, locked together, vibrating on the same frequency. Her hand moved lower, gripping his hip, pulling him flush against her heat. He groaned, a sound torn from his chest, a mixture of pain and something else entirely. This wasn't just sex, it was a fusion. The heat from her body was soaking into his, igniting a fire in his veins. She shifted, pressing him back against a sturdy pillar of rock, her body a warm, heavy weight against his. Her golden eyes, still open, watched him, full of that same intense curiosity, that same strange hunger. She lifted one leg, hooking it around his waist, pulling herself even closer. The friction of her mineral skin against his suit sent shivers down his spine. This was raw, primal, utterly alien intimacy. It wasn't gentle. It was power and surrender intertwined. A physical negotiation, a silent conversation carried on resonance and heat. Her hum deepened, becoming a low, rhythmic pulse that mirrored his own quickening heartbeat. He felt her claws extend slightly, not piercing his skin, but pressing, marking, a physical emphasis on the dominance ritual. Even in this merging, his hands found the bone structures on her back, tracing the lines, feeling the power coiled beneath. She felt solid, ancient, yet utterly alive and responsive in his arms. She leaned her head back against the rock, exposing the column of her throat where the humming nodes pulsed with light. It was an invitation, a moment of vulnerability in the midst of her dominance. He lowered his head, pressing his lips against the warm, vibrating skin of her throat. The humming intensified, a deep, resonant thrumming that seemed to shake the very air. It was overwhelming, intoxicating. He felt a jolt, a connection deepening, spreading through him from the point of contact. It wasn't just physical, it was something else, a link. Their resonances were binding. He felt a sense of presence in his mind, not words but a surge of feeling, of ancient knowledge, of raw emotion, power, isolation, duty, and a name, whispered not in sound, but in pure thought, echoed in the core of his being by the humming. Lyra. The sound wasn't foreign, it felt familiar, like a half-forgotten memory, like the moon's true name, finally revealed. His eyes flew open, looking up at her face. Her golden eyes were closed now, her head still tilted back, lost in the intensity of the resonance, of the merging. Her basalt skin shimmered, the glowing veins pulsing rapidly. Lyra, the word was a quiet question, barely a whisper, torn from his lips by instinct. Her body went rigid. The humming stopped, abruptly. Her golden eyes snapped open, wide, staring down at him with an expression he couldn't read. Shock? Fear? Confusion? The intense energy between them fractured, scattering like glass. Her hand tightened on the back of his neck, no longer possessive but gripping. Her hum returned, but it was a broken, questioning sound. How did you know? Her voice was tight, strained, the resonant quality replaced by raw astonishment. The elder's humming in the background, which had softened during the merging, spiked with alarm. He hadn't spoken the word aloud often, maybe not at all, but the resonance, the humming. It had felt like he heard it from her, from the core of this moon itself. The hum. The resonance. Daw, he stammered, still trying to process the sudden shift. The name, the connection he'd felt. Edano. It felt like you told me, like it's your real name. Lyra. It means, the Tanide Winter Job Touch, on the Alskapad of Temperdipian, on Cove, Song of the Moon, doesn't it? In some old tongue. Her breath hitched. She pulled away from him abruptly, stumbling back a step, her hands going to her throat, covering the vibrating nodes. The intimate physical connection was broken, replaced by a vast, sudden distance. Her expression was guarded, fearful. That name? Tulebert is not spoken, she said, her voice low, shaking slightly. Not by outsiders, not by by any but the most sacred. She looked around wildly, her golden eyes darting towards the elders, whose humming was now a frantic warning pulse. The resonance, it connected us too deeply, she whispered, more to herself than to him. It revealed what is hidden. Her posture shifted from dominant empress to cornered creature. The bone structures seemed to retract slightly into her form. The radiating heat lessened. Lyra is my true name, she admitted, her voice barely audible over the rising din of the elders. Given in the deepest cradle cave, known only to the bloodline and Thex, and the resonance itself. It means the heart hum, the soul song of this world. She looked back at him, her eyes filled with a complex mix of awe, fear, and something akin to horror. You heard it through the merging. Confreeze it through the claiming bond we just forged. Claiming bond? He felt a cold knot form in his stomach, replacing the heat. Bond? He repeated, looking down at where her claws had pressed into his hip. What bond? The ritual is complete, she stated, her voice regaining some of its commanding tone, though it was still edged with panic. By withstanding my form, by causing the resonance to link us so completely, you did not yield, human. You forged. You claimed me. Her golden eyes were intense again, but the look was different. Not hunger, responsibility. The mingling of our forms, the sharing of resonance, the speaking of the true name. These are the ancient signs. The elders see it. They feel the bond through the cradle hum. A cacophony of humming erupted from the elders. It was no longer just warning, it was outrage. Several of them stood up from their thrones, their ancient forms vibrating with fury. The champion below stirred, its dull eyes fixing on them. Claimed you? Jack stared at her, completely blindsided. He'd thought it was her ritual to claim him, not behind this. Wait, hold on, that wasn't. I didn't mean to. It's fine, we just had sex. Sex? She repeated, using the human term with a bewildered frown. This was not merely sex, human. This was the forging, the resonance binding. You spoke my true name during the deepest connection. That is the final, undeniable mark of a completed claiming ritual. Her voice rose, echoing in the cavern. You are bound to me now, human. Spirit, form, resonance. We are one in the eyes of the cradle and the elders. One. Jax felt lightheaded. Look, I'm pretty sure that's not how human biology works, and I'm definitely sure that's not how sex works back home. We didn't get bound. We had a very intense, probably medically inadvisable encounter on a platform. The elders were descending the platform steps, their humming a thunderous expression of anger. The champion started to ascend from the arena. This was going south fast. It matters not how your species defines it. Lyra, he'd heard her real name, he couldn't unknow it now. Snapped, her earlier fear replaced by a desperate urgency. Here, the ritual is absolute. The resonance does not lie. You are mine and I am yours. And the elders. Porque they see this union as a desecration. She grabbed his arm again, her grip as strong as before, but the pull was different. Not towards a test, but towards escape. My rule as empress is tenuous. The elders hold the true power. They want to maintain the purity of the bloodlines, the rituals, a union with an outsider. Unhuman. Tempt. Is forbidden. It threatens everything. They were running. Lyra pulled him away from the descending elders towards a different exit from the crucible cavern. The champion's heavy steps echoed behind them. The elders' outraged humming chased them. Forbidden? Jax gasped, scrambling to keep up despite his aching ribs. So you're telling me that because we had a resonance binding, so, we're jolsel wild of roger blindels and a hectame natters began Juna. on those my podit bok planes, what Carolee would do to my boy Polish I bele King Teeb. Now I'm your husband and we're both fugitives from your rock cult elders? Yes, she hissed, dragging him through a narrow passage. Essentially, though the term is claimed mate, not husband. And yes, fugitives, the elders will not allow this bond to stand. They will shatter your form and cleanse my resonance from the taint of your touch. Taint of my touch? He repeated, bristling despite the terror. Hey, you're the one who dragged me here and basically initiated phase 1. And you completed the ritual with your unexpected resistance and the uttering of the true name. She shot back, not looking at him, her golden eyes focused on their escape path. It was meant to be a test of worth, a demonstration of my dominance over a potential outsider. Not a reciprocal forging. They burst out of the crucible back into the labyrinthine paths of the crag. The air was still hot, the ground still vibrated with the moon's hum, but now that hum felt watchful, alerted. So you're saying your test backfired spectacularly, Jax panted, stumbling over loose rock. Because if that's the case, maybe your ritual wasn't the best idea. Silence, she commanded, pulling him around a sharp corner. The time for words is past. They will be hunting us. We must reach the deeper cradle caves. The elders cannot follow there. They ran through twisting, glowing tunnels, the heat oppressive. Lyra moved with unnatural speed and grace, navigating the treacherous terrain as if it were flat ground. Jax, injured and exhausted, was struggling. His lungs burned, his legs ached, and his ribs felt like they were going to shatter. Deeper cradle caves? How deep? Do they have oxygen down there? Because my lungs are currently staging a rebellion. The cradle sustains its own, she snapped, pulling him up a sheer rock face with startling strength. There is heat, mineral-rich air, and sanctuary, if we can reach it. They climbed, the glowing fissures providing just enough light to see. He could hear sounds from above, the heavy footsteps of the champion, the higher-pitched, resonant hums of the elders directing their hunters. They were gaining. Sanctuary, Jax muttered, pulling himself onto a small ledge beside her. Right. Because being trapped in a cave with a pissed-off rock empress and her judgmental family is exactly my idea of a safe haven. Lyra ignored his sarcasm, her golden eyes scanning the rock face above them. We must go higher, then descend through the serpent's maw. It is the only entrance they cannot easily seal. Higher? He looked up. The rock face seemed to go on forever. You gotta be kidding me. Do you yield? Claimed mate, she asked, her voice sharp, challenging. The term claimed mate felt wrong, alien, heavy with implications he didn't understand. But the challenge in her eyes was universal. He wouldn't yield. Not to her, not to the pain, not to the damn elders. Never, he grit out. Lyra nodded, a flicker of something that might have been approval in her eyes. Good. Then climb. She started ascending again, moving with sure, practiced movements, finding handholds and footholds where none seemed to exist. He followed, pushing himself past exhaustion, fueled by adrenaline and a healthy dose of sheer bloody-minded refusal to die on this godforsaken moon just because he accidentally got married to an empress during a dominance fight. As they climbed, the sounds of pursuit grew louder. The elders' humming was a constant, angry drone below them. They were trapped between a rock cult and a hard place. Literally, Lyra reached a higher ledge and pulled him up. They paused for a moment, hidden in a shadow cast by a massive bone-like outcropping. Below, figures moved in the glowing tunnels, their golden eyes sweeping the walls. Mercenaries, wearing Ignis-born armor but moving with the stiff precision of hired muscle, sent by the elders. They are the enforcers, Lyra whispered, her voice tight. Loyal to the elders, they will shatter us on sight. Shatter. Nice. He really needed to get a handle on their terminology. All right, Jax said, catching his breath. New plan, we don't outrun them. We outfight them. He patted the plasma pistol still clutched in his hand. Lyra turned to him, her brow furrowed in confusion. Fight, there are many, we are two. And your artifact is crude. It's also effective, he said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. And I'm good with it. We find a choke point, take them out one by one. Then we worry about the serpent's maw or whatever. Her golden eyes studied him, that strange appraisal returning. You would stand against the enforcers? For me? For haste the bond? For me, he corrected, and for not getting shattered. Look, Empress, we're in this together now, whether either of us likes it or not. Might as well try to survive it together too. He met her gaze, letting her see the resolve in his eyes. He might be a jaded bounty hunter running from his past, but he wasn't going to let her face this alone. Not after Dick Dumas. After the crucible. After the resonance. After he'd called her Lyra. A low hum, different from any he'd heard before, vibrated from her throat. It was soft, complex. You. "On intrigue me, Jax," she said, using his name, the sound soft on her lips. "Your form is soft, yet your will is rigid. Your ways are strange, yet your resonance is true." She looked down at the enforcers, then back at him. A decision hardened in her eyes. "Very well, we fight. But we fight as one," claimed a mate. "Our resonance combined." She reached out, her hand covering his that held the pistol. Her touch was warm, the bone structures on her hand brushing against his fingers. The humming intensified again, a shared vibration, not just between them, but linking to the very fabric of the moon around them. He felt a surge of something new, a faint awareness extending beyond his own senses, seeing flickers of the enforcer's movements through her connection to the cradle. A dangerous, exhilarating power. As one, he agreed, gripping her hand tighter. Time to see what a jaded human and a fugitive rock empress could do when they were accidentally bonded and fighting for their lives.